Members of the International Pentecost Holiness Church want the National Prosecuting Authority to open an inquest into an attack on the church. Well, let's take you live now to eNCA's Manqoba Mchunu, who is tracking that story that stems from events that took place in 2020. Manqoba, firstly, just clarify for us which sections of the church are involved in this matter, trying to get the NPA involved. Just clarify who's who in this situation. There's the Zuurbekom element of the story, which is where these events happened, but you also have what's known as the Jerusalem section of the church. Clarify what fits where.
Well, in fact, there are three splinter groups to this church, as we'll recall, that there is the Zuurbekom headquarters, which of course is led by Leonard Modise, who is the son of the late founder, or of the late church leader, Clayton Mackenzie, who died in 2016. But following that, there is also Jerusalem, which is here in Pretoria, which is led by Michael Sandlana, who is, we understand, is the son of the late leader, but out of wedlock. Those are the claims so far as we've seen some of the papers and we've spoken to some of the congregants and the church leaders. And then there's the third one, which is in Springs, which is also being led by one of the sons, Tsepiso Modise, who is the son also of Clayton Modise. So this particular one relates to Jerusalem faction of this particular church, because you recall that when that attack happened in July 2020, the accusations that was made at the time was that it was the Jerusalem church that actually had attacked the Zuurbekom side of the church, and over, of course, the issues of leadership in that particular church. But they are saying that they have now been vindicated by the court. There was a court ruling. You recall to us that there was a court matter that was in the courts after that incident had happened, where over 42 people were arrested, including a member of the SANDF as well as a Metro Police officer. So the court has found that they are actually not, it has struck that matter, in fact, off the roll, saying that those that were charged are not to be held accountable for this particular attack that happened. But to speak further on this, I'm now joined by Vusindala. He will clarify things more to us for us. Let's start here. You are calling on the NPA to actually start an inquest into this matter. Why?
Basically, as we have expressed painfully so in July 2020, that the allegations that we are the perpetrators of the massacre that happened on the day, we vehemently denied that, and therefore the matter being struck off the roll is a vindication that we had nothing to do with the killing. So the reason we are pushing that the NPA conduct an inquest of the death of the 5 of our church members is to really to ensure that justice is served to the families of the members that were killed, because we need to know who are the real killers, because the 42 members that were arrested are not the killers, as magistrates, the late magistrate Pillay indicated that the police had no evidence that the 42 that were arrested were the killers, because none of the guns or ammunition that were found on the day belonged to any of the 42. Hence, we were in pains to explain in July 2020 that the allegation level against us have got nothing to do with us, but they are real killers. So this inquest will address, we hopefully will address that.
And so who are these real killers? Who do you think is behind this?
Look, like we've been saying all along, especially at our media briefing earlier, there are some members of the SAPS that work together or collude with some members of the Zuurbekom faction, because one, the senior members of police and top brass were there in the morning, early hours of Saturday 11th July 2020. But what have they done about that? And what are the circumstances that led to those members who were killed to die when in the presence of police, for example? What was the mission? So we believe that there's a ploy and a digression by Zuurbekom faction, in actual fact, to hide the shenanigans that they are doing. And the mere reason, especially to hide those shenanigans, is that they are opposed to our father, because our father is a blocker of the wealth that they want to create for themselves through the children of our Father. All that they need.
So you're saying this is about money?
Yes, it is about money, nothing else. As we have indicated, that all that they want. I mean, there could not be any fight if this matter was spiritual, because you cannot fight the matter of spirit in flesh. You can't. Matter of spirit are fought in a spiritual way, not in blood shedding that we have seen. So this definitely is about money. I mean, we have already indicated that in December 2020 there was an attempt to access the frozen church bank accounts by another faction. And then in August last year, there was also another attempt. And the way this is done, they fake court orders, they fake leadership resolutions as if resolutions were made to access those funds. And none of that come from our side. They all come from other factions.
We did see the parties going before the CRL Rights Commission last year, and there were agreements that were reached. In fact, you reached an agreement to not continue with violence, and also to ensure that each and every leader, takes care of his own congregation. But it seems that now that agreement is not in place. What's happening with that agreement? Because we are seeing again the bickering between the two.
Yeah. Yes. Look, like we have indicated, and I'll go back to my analogy or explanation of the spiritual aspect of who we are. But in essence, all this fight, you see, it's nothing to do with spiritual. Unfortunately, the other factions, they are lawbreakers. They don't comply. Right? And they are not obedient to the law. You are right. At CRL, we agree. I mean, that was covered. Even CRL expressed that in their media statement. But in September of that year, the very same PGP actually invaded our branch in Libotwane. And you know what they wanted to do? There's something that I think they think they know it's a tactic. They know that if they provoke us, we will act in a particular manner. So what they did, they went there thinking that exactly what happened in Zuurbekom will happen. It has never happened. So they've taken that side by force. We wrote to the Minister of Police. We wrote to the National Commissioner of Police, not once, not twice, 3 times. They never responded. So now, what you are saying, it looks like because they know that the police will do nothing to them, or there's nothing that will happen, either the case is open or not, nothing will happen to them. So it's more like they are sure that somebody will protect us in the police.
And just finally, in terms of the case, we know that there is a case before court when it comes to the issues of leadership in this particular church. What's happening with that case?
Look, in between 2018 and May 2020, because in 2016, Mr. Tsepiso Modise filed an application saying that he is the successor. And then the church intervened because he made that application in his personal capacity. So the church intervened to oppose that, right? And while we were at it, in 2019, Leonard Modise, whom initially actually supported his brother, that his brother, he is the one who's anointed. And then a year later, he's the one that now he's a leader. In actual fact, he deposed to an affidavit under oath that his brother is the leader. But surprisingly, he's now saying he's not a leader. Clearly, that is a case of perjury because he lied under oath. So therefore, he intervened in 2019, and then after that intervention, Justice Kolapen at the time and later Justice Pottery, then the case managed that, and we left it at that. But what we've realized is that the other two factions, the more this case drag, the more they benefit. So now we have taken an initiative to ensure that that case actually moves. So in the near future, in a few weeks' time, we will call another briefing to outline to you how will that case.
And do you think it will vindicate Michael Sandlane as the leader?
Absolutely, it will. Absolutely. Just follow us on that case and follow the case itself in court. We will share with you the details of who filed what, where it is, what is happening. Definitely, we will be vindicated.
Okay, thank you very much for speaking to us. That was Vusindala, who is the spokesperson of the International Pentecost Holiness Church, Jerusalem, here in Pretoria. Just clarifying some of those issues. Of course, they're calling for an inquest from the NPA to ensure that those murders are investigated. In fact, they're saying that the people that died in that massacre, as they call it, were in fact members from their own church.
Yeah, all right. Always confusing around these factions, around religious groupings there. Thanks, Manqoba Mchunu, for helping us make sense of it all. I mean, I think the only other place where you will find more confusing factions is possibly in the African National Congress. When there are factions in religious groupings, it is a story that you must follow very closely, because one blink and you've missed it and you're completely confused as to who's who in that particular situation.